Oh, God. Well, welcome back to 42nd Street, Pete's Grindhouse Snowmageddon edition, we call this, or should we call it Trash Film Noir this time? Being that I'm going to talk about a film from 1965 called The Thrill Killers, directed by Ray Dennis Steckler and starring Gary Kent and Liz Renay and some other people. But before that, we had another passing to note. People from Jersey would recognize Uncle Floyd, Floyd Bovino. I'd say a kids show host, but he was a lot more than that. He was more of a kids show host in the tone of Soupy Sales than anything else. Unfortunately, that whole crew we used to know, Uncle Floyd, Netto, Charlie Stoddard, Muggsy, who the hell else was in there? Looney Skip Rooney. A lot of these guys, unfortunately, are no longer with us. After Floyd split with those guys, they did a show called The 11th Hour out of Nutley, New Jersey, which may still be floating around on YouTube. We were on one show, and basically we were asked to leave because we were drinking, and a couple of the hosts were visibly drunk on camera, so they sort of kicked us out of the studio. But rest in peace, Uncle Floyd. As far as the Thrill Killers go, I didn't know anything about these films. This was like 65. I found out about them through Castle of Frankenstein magazine, because they did a whole in-depth thing about Steckler and the incredibly strange creatures that stopped living and became mixed-up zombies, and Rat Fink and Boo Boo and the Lemon Grove Kids Meet the Monsters and shit like that. This one is sort of shot in a film noirish type thing. It's black and white. Steckler is in it as Cash Flag, Mad Dog, Martz, or whatever the fuck his name was, and basically he's some kind of psychotic killer who is hitchhiking and kills the guy who picks him up and leaves him by the roadside. Then he goes somewhere else, picks up a girl, and kills her. In the meantime, there's a subplot with a movie star and his wife and trying to cast people, and this other woman that owns a diner played by Carolyn, Brandt. Well, in the interim, 3 lunatics escape from a mental institution. One's named Gary, who was played by Gary Kent, as Gary can only play a psycho, and plays it really good. Another one is Herb Robbins from the Worm Eaters, and the third guy I forget. Anyway, this other couple is out looking at this house they were supposed to buy from a guy, and they come in looking for the guy and find his severed head up on a stairwell, and the maniacs attack them. Maniac Gary is claustrophobic. They chop up the guy. The girl is dragged off camera and presumably being raped by Gary until the guy with the axe comes in and clunk, and you don't hear him screaming anymore. So they change clothes and get in a car and wind up going to the diner that the movie star and his wife and this producer are at. So the guy comes in and they ask to make a phone call, and he calls none other than the Cash Flag character who says, "You better have a lot of money if I'm coming to pick you up." So they start seeing photos of the movie star on the camera wall and decide to fuck with him, and fucking with him means kill him. In the meantime, the Carolyn Brandt character pours rat poison into the guy's coffee and drinks it. He hits the floor dying. The other guy is overpowered, and they're chasing the girl. And the movie star goes after Gary character. And if you know Gary Kent, we all know that he loved to do fight scenes, and there's a huge big fight scene on the edge of a cliff where Gary eventually goes over it. The Cash Flag character picks up Liz Renay and is taking her to do something. When cops are after him, he shoots a couple of the cops. The hero goes after him, and he's basically gunned down and winds up in a pool of stagnant water. The end. Well, like I said, I only found out about this film through the Castle of Frankenstein magazine. And years later, something called The Maniacs Are Loose was playing at this theater in Cedar Grove on Route 23 called Cinema 23. It was a midnight show, so we went, and it wound up that this was basically a retitled version of the Thrill Killers, and the ushers were wearing Cash Flag masks and walking around with cardboard axes, and were tackled and pummeled by the drunken patrons when they came out. So that's my only recollection of seeing that film. Not that I paid close attention, but I just revisited it on a DVD, and like I said, it's trash film noir. It's pretty much not badly shot, but, you know, the plot's all over the thing. And Steckler admitted in an interview that he really didn't want to be in it. He just wanted to make another horror film. So that's our film. As far as anything else goes, I really appreciate the outpouring of sympathy and condolences as far as my mother's passing goes. The service will be this coming Saturday because everything was obviously under the snow this weekend. A lot of people mentioned how cool they thought my mother was. Well, my mother was really cool, and I'm going to tell you a story right here that will show how cool she was, or, you know, how good a parent she was, or whatever. When I was 16 years old, my mother goes, "Get in the car, we're going down to the A&P supermarket." So we get to the supermarket, and I go, "Well, what are we going to get?" She goes, "We're not getting nothing. You're going to work here, and I'll pick you up at 9:30. So she basically arranged for good old Pete to go to work in a supermarket because Pete wasn't doing nothing, and Pete needed motivations. And maybe today that might seem a little bit extreme, but hey, I learned how to work for a buck. I learned the value of a buck. I learned the work ethic and more. So that was cool. But, you know, 16 years old, going back and forth to New York with my friends, she pretty much figured out what was going on, that we were pretty much drinking over there and drinking underage. So rather than try to stop it, because obviously we weren't going to stop, her and my father came up with something. If you people want to drink, you can drink in the rec room, the basement, little, you know, place we fixed up. But if you're going to do that, you're going to leave all your car keys up here with us, and you're not going home if you're fucked up. So usually, most of us spent the night, because we'd sit there, and as, you know, teenagers, we'd push the fucking alcohol thing to the limit, get fucked up, wind up hurling in the bathroom or in the bushes out and back. But we learned how to handle our liquor, and nobody ever got in trouble, nobody ever got in an accident, nobody ever got DWI'd, because Mom wouldn't let anybody leave the house. So this gets a little bit better. Bunch of us, you know, friends were working for the A&P. I made friends working there. We were working there for a year or so. And our bonus was a $25 gift certificate to guess where? The A&P. So there was like 4 of us working there. There was like $100 in gift certificates. We convinced my mother to go to the A&P in the next town where they had a liquor department and get us an order of booze for our New Year's Eve party, which she grudgingly did because she figured we'd get it from somewhere else. So we had a great New Year's Eve party, and again, nobody left the house. So it was like the mother hen thing. She made sure none of us got hurt, you know, none of us went out, and none of us got in any accidents or died or shit like that. So that's how cool she was. She was also a big Zachary fan before I got into Zachary, and I actually took her to Chiller Theater to meet Zach. And she was also a huge Bruno Sammartino fan. And when Bruno was working the area at the local shows, of course, I had to take Mom. So that's how cool she was. Let me end the show with this. What is going on in Minneapolis is a fucking abomination, okay? 2 innocent people who weren't migrants, weren't criminals, weren't druggies, were executed by ICE. And I mean executed, because these people are not being reined in. They're a bunch of thugs with badges, and now they're killing us in the streets. Let me repeat that. They are killing us in the streets. That poor guy, that registered nurse, had a legit permit to carry. That gun was not out. They pulled it out and executed him. They shot him 5 fucking times. He was laying on the ground. So, yeah, I'm pissed. Yeah, I'm upset. And I want to know, when is this going to fucking end? Because, what is it? Anybody who voices opposition to this fucking regime is labeled a domestic terrorist? No. The domestic terrorists are fucking Donald Trump and the Department of Homeland Security and some of these fucking cops. So, I am sickened. I am appalled. I am pissed off. And if I got to walk around in my own town, my own state, and carry a weapon to protect me against these thugs, don't think I won't, because I'm almost there. Anybody who seems to talk about these thugs gets talked down, shouted down. Well, you know something? It took Germany a few years to get to this point, and it only took us a few months to get to this point. So what's it going to be, America? Are we going to roll over, go tits up, and let the Department of Homeland Security and the Donald Trump regime fuck us in the ass? Are we going to stand up and fight for what's actually ours? And not forget this midterm shit. We're not going to last that long. This has to be resolved now. It has to be resolved fast. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding pissed off, and I'm sorry if I'm upset. But like I said, this all comes on the heels of my own personal tragedy right now, and I'm sick of seeing people getting killed by fellow Americans who are no more than fucking Nazi scum. That's all you are. You are the fucking people that were locked up for this January 6th thing, and now you're being rewarded by being allowed to execute American citizens. It's fucked up. So let me end this by saying I thank everybody for the condolences. I thank everyone for subscribing and tuning in. And above all, stay safe and protect yourselves and protect the people you love, because obviously the fucking law enforcement we got in place now ain't going to do a fucking thing.